afternoon from Los Angeles, and welcome to Stock Market Today, sponsored by Interactive Brokers. On today's show, we're going to be taking a look at the charts of Disney as well as Datadog and Applied Materials. But first, we want to take a look at the major indexes. And of course, it's Alyssa Quorum here. I'm joined today by Ed Carson. And Ed, mild movements today for the S&P and NASDAQ, but the Dow led on the upside, closing with a gain of about 0.3% with a really strong performance by Disney today.
Yeah, that really helped things out. I mean, but all the major averages did fairly well today when you consider there was some negative China trade headlines. And, you know, we've risen quite a bit since early October. And, you know, a lot of it's on China trade optimism. So you might think that if we had bad news, that could really bring it down. But so it's been nice to see, again, that stock market rally being resilient, holding above the old highs. So, modest gains, modest losses on today was just fine. Right.
Well, we will definitely keep an eye on things as we are at those new highs. But let's take a look at a few individual names. We mentioned Disney, so let's start off with that. Huge move for the stock today, closing the day up about 7.3%. Really heavy volume. Hitting new all-time highs, also rising above an earlier buy point, but it looks like this initial debut for the Disney Plus streaming service is just blowing past expectations.
Yeah, they had 10 million users already, or 10 million signups already. I don't know how many are paid, but it's really powerful. They've got just a ton of content there, and Disney went right through. There's sort of an early resistance, sort of right where it hit high on earnings a couple of days ago, and there's sort of an area around that area around 140. Got above that, then got above the old highs, just above 147. Really powerful move, huge volume. We added this to Leaderboard and Swing Trader today. Meanwhile, Netflix fell 3% or so. It was, you can see. This was a really strong early showing by Disney.
Yeah, and you even mentioned when we were just chatting in the newsroom earlier, maybe some investors, moving out of Netflix and going into Disney. But we'll have to see where it goes from here because even though it's extended from that earlier entry, it is right above another prior resistance level around 147.
Yeah, that's the traditional buy point, and it might form a handle here. I mean, you don't know; it could consolidate because after such a big move after this and earnings, it would not be a surprise to pull back and just trade sideways for a little bit.
Yep, that's exactly right. And moving on, next we want to take a look at recent IPO Datadog. Ticker there is DDOG. That stock gained about 17% for the day. Gapping up here, and for those looking at this chart, it didn't quite close above its prior high from the first day, but this one also had an earlier entry.
Yeah, there is sort of a double bottom. It's sort of hard to see that right in sort of the middle there, and it did, vaulted above that on its strong earnings. The earnings, they didn't have earnings. They had a small loss, but it was much better, smaller than expected. Revenue growth accelerating, so it did get above that double bottom buy point. It briefly got to a new high intraday. So that would also probably be an entry. And maybe it'll consolidate here, form another little area so you could buy it. It's probably still in buy range from that double bottom. This is a growth area. This is the kind of thing that you want to see, a stock sort of moving towards profitability with strong revenue growth. Just really nice action.
Yeah, that's right. Even though we do typically say that we like to see quarterly earnings growth and sales growth of at least 25%, it's a little different for IPOs since many of them are not yet profitable. So you really want to be honing in on that sales growth here, coming in at around or over 80%. So that's really good to see. And like you said, it's moving towards profitability.
Yeah.
All right, and last but not least, let's take a look at Applied Materials, which is set to issue its quarterly report on Thursday. And the stock has been extending its gains recently. But even though it's expected to turn in declines on the top and bottom lines, it's been doing that for the past several quarters, and that really hasn't slowed down the stock all too much, and this is a weekly chart here we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, chip gear tends to cycle ahead of time. I mean, the stock moves ahead of the earnings. This, obviously people are going to want to see what's going forward, the outlook for next year. Are they going to finally do it? What they have here is like a 3 weeks tight on top of it. It broke out of a cup base a few weeks ago. Didn't really clear it until a couple weeks ago. It's set up a 3 weeks tight. That's when the stock closes at, within 1 to 1.5% of the prior week's close for a couple of weeks. It's done that. It's right at those levels. But to be honest, Applied Materials is probably going to gap up or gap down on earnings, but so maybe you buy an option if you're interested in this. Maybe you just wait for the earnings move. This is important. Applied Materials and NVIDIA, we sort of got one more month. How did the chip cycle go through October? And this is big names. Is the chip sector going to continue to lead?
Yeah, that is going to be very key. We might get some insight into that tomorrow. And I think it's good to talk about the 3 weeks tight. I feel like we haven't talked about too many of those lately. But yeah, we could potentially see a big move here on the earnings report. So we'll keep our eyes peeled for those results and analysis on investors.com as well. All right, everyone, that's it for today. Before we go, though, some key announcements for you. We now have IBD Live. Ed, tell us more.
Well, we start every day, a few of us, every day start at 6:20. We basically talking about the market and actionable stocks. We were talking a lot about Datadog this morning as it was crossing a buy point. We talked about Disney in prior days as we were setting up. So we're really focusing on this. This is sort of like getting into the newsroom. We're answering a lot of questions from users. It's been a lot of fun so far.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously, I really like our end of day analysis. It's good to see where stocks close and everything. But in terms of, you're right, looking for things that are actionable, that first hour of trade is really crucial to be able to get a sense of what's going on and what opportunities are out there.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
All right, and also want to let you know that we do have, oh my gosh, we have so many announcements. I'm like, what is this? It's our Wizards of Wall Street webinar, a very key webinar coming up tomorrow, led by Arusha Pires as well, and he's joined by Mark Minervini and David Ryan, and you can find out more details on that at investors.com/webinar, happening tomorrow. So make sure you definitely take advantage of that. And that's it for today, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.